Today, I'm joined by professional designer, creative director for many companies, everywhere from your mom and pop shop to your multi-million dollar company. He's been in the industry for over a decade, specializing in website designs, logos, names, taglines, domains. This is the man you want if you want to create a name and design that pop. I am joined by co-founder of Sparrow Websites, Mr. Justin Rule. Welcome to the show.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. So we got a ton to talk about here because I really want to help all the listeners out here create designs that are going to just spark the imagination of viewers and get people to really dive in. Because let's face it, there's a lot of crappy websites out there.
Really? Where have you been looking?
There's a lot of great places out there like, WordPress, Bluehost, Wix, Shopify. It's easier than ever to create a website.
Yeah.
But that means there's a lot of crappy ones out there. So I want to start here. From a design standpoint, Justin, what separates a great website, a great looking website from a cruddy looking website?
That's a great question, because when you say there's crappy websites, some people might think, oh man, it looks crappy. Actually, some of the worst websites, they look beautiful, but they don't do anything for the business owner, right? They look amazing. They have the cool video background, and they just, you love it. Your secretary loves it. Your staff loves it. But the person that lands on your website's like, what am I supposed to do? So to answer that, I feel like what separates, not great from great is probably more in the eyes of your customer than in your own perspective. So basically, if it's not producing leads or producing good conversations, and you're getting these calls, hey, I went to the website to find that thing you said, but I can't find it. It's a little bit more of that. The part that I would say should also be true, though, is it should be authentic to you. It should be, if you make beautiful interior designs or your food looks amazing because you played it just right, then yeah, make sure it's authentically represented on your website for sure. But you got to have that conversion smooth pathway. So I think it's I think bad is confusing and good is clear. I don't have to think a whole lot. I know where to go. And then it's kind of icing on the cake and great if it looks well and beautiful and in that process. Yeah.
Yeah. I could not agree with you more on clarity. Clarity is so important. And I've kind of gone back and retooled my website several times. I think one of the mistakes that people make when it comes to their main landing page is they've got too many buttons that do different things. What's something that you've seen that's been successful in creating clarity? What's a best practice? I'm going to the drawing board. I'm building out my website. What's a best practice I could follow?
No, that's great. I mean, it's a great question because it really depends. You have to, number one, know or have a great either data set or hunch of who's coming to your website and what they're looking for. And so with that in mind, before they scroll, that first 3 seconds, hopefully your site loads in under 4 seconds. We all know that after 4 seconds, you lose half of your audience per second. So keep that in mind if you're a business owner. Google will tell you that if you just run a free audit on your website with Lighthouse. I mean, some of this stuff is easily accessible to us. We just don't think through it. But number one, you've got those 3 seconds. And so best practice is have one single next step there. When we take over websites and we look to optimize conversion, two things we do right off the bat. We take away sliders, and that, because what happens on a slider is you start to read something and the image changes and you're like, squirrel. Yeah. Wait, what is that? Oh, I should look at that. So number one, just take away the slider, have a single image in the background. But number two, give me one next step. Sometimes you can get away with 2. It's like, hey, more about our team or look at our guarantee. But really, you just want one thing. You don't want 3 buttons along the top of your header and then 2 in that main hero image. And now you're asking me 5 questions at once. I don't even know what you want me to do. So get one single thing there, and don't ask for marriage before you even start to date them. That's our joke of it's like, hey, want to sign a contract now? Hey, want to buy this thing? Hey, want to donate to my nonprofit? Honestly, take that out of the top of your website. They don't even know enough to know whether they want that or not. So stop asking for marriage before you've even told them something about yourself.
So I love this. Load times, sliders, don't get married on the first date. These are all really easy mistakes you can make, but really easy fixes you can make. Justin, love that. And of course, you can find out a ton more at sparrowwebsites.com, Justin's company. So Justin, I want to talk a little bit more about load times, because that's a really tricky thing, because you want your website to look beautiful and have these crisp, clear images. But if you're uploading, huge digital files, your website ain't going to load. How can we what are some actual tips that we can use to make our websites load quickly?
Yep. Let me give you a bunch of free candy, man, because a lot of stuff out there you can just do. So number one, Birme.net, BIRME.net is a free tool online that does two things. One, it will optimize your images, but you can also then title tag, like SEO title tag your images in that process. So load 40 images off your iPhone into Birme.net, tell it, hey, my business name, title, service title. And as it optimizes those image, it will actually put the title tag on it as well. So that's going to speed up your image and give you, a title tag and an SEO friendly, thing for Google to index. That's one free tool.
Love it.
Or you can put Imageify, which is a free tool. You can pay. There's a paid version, but there's a free version of Imageify, and it's a plugin. It's really robust. You can put on your website, and what that does is it will take an image that you load, and it will create a desktop version, a tablet version, a mobile version, a Retina version of that same image, which is brilliant, because then, depending what device you're loading, it loads the correct image. And you'll see a lot of load time is affected by that image, that JavaScript load. So if you can optimize those images and size, that is the single easiest way to increase load time. And video, putting direct like MP4 link video or YouTube link background videos, you just want to weigh the pro and the con. Mm-hmm. But you got to get your speed. Server speed obviously is a big issue there. Generally I'd say don't be on a shared server. And I won't name drop anyone, but there's a lot of cheap shared servers out there. Spend a few extra bucks and get like a cloud-based dedicated server, so that your load time is going to be wicked fast.
Love that. What's a cloud-based server that you're a big fan of?
We host all of ours on either Flywheel or Kinsta. Flywheel is a little bit more easy for the average person to kind of set up. Kinsta is a little bit more technical, but both easily done. And again, you get all the perks that come with that as well. So
that makes a lot of sense. And like all these tools are just gold, because like you said, anything you do get your load times. I love that Imageify idea too, because this drives me nuts when I go to a website on my desktop and it looks good. And as soon as you go to the mobile, it looks like they haven't spent any time. But yeah, in your experience, where are people spending the most time when they're going to websites?
Yeah, the data says it's absolutely all mobile.
Yeah.
And mobile meaning both tablet. It's funny, tablet's having a weird moment. Like it's actually emerging and growing. So some people were like ignoring the tablet view because who has a tablet, but actually people are searching that now. And on the mobile viewing is so important. Like the client, like if you're the business owner, you're looking on your laptop, your desktop, that's what your secretary is on, that's what your project manager is probably on. But the reality is, if my wife calls me and said, hey, we need to, get landscaping done, I'm going to, hey Siri, landscaping near me. I'm going to look at someone's site at a red light on my phone. That thing better load before the light turns green,
right,
and show me something that either makes me come back to that later in my mind when I get home and my wife says, hey, who we rocking with to do the landscaping? Or, it needs to have some quick like tap call to action, tap, load my phone number, tap to call. Those mobile experiences are huge. Like we could actually talk a long time on just the mobile data that's coming in and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about the conversions, right? Because I think that's something that's really important and difficult to quantify. People are like, okay, I'm going to build out a beautiful website that looks good on desktop. Two pretty big mistakes. You really want to, like you said, you maximize your load time, optimize for mobile, tablet, make sure it looks good on everything, and then make sure it's not too cluttered. But let's say, for example, let me back it up a little bit. When we're looking at our website conversions, how well it's converting to actual sales or leads, what are some ways we can measure that? And how do we fix it if it looks like it's broken? How do we know if we're getting enough leads or not?
No, there's great questions. I mean, so first of all, put Google Analytics on your site if it's not. I mean, there's some free plugins that'll do your analytics, but Google Analytics is free.
Mhm.
So why not put Google Analytics on? You'll get data out the wazoo. In fact, we have a pretty brilliant, my business partner, Adam, man, he studied conversion for 15 years now and analyzes all the nerd juice that honestly, I don't even have time for. But we put a video out that just dumbs down Google Analytics because it can be scary when you jump in and look at all the numbers and charts and data. It's like the 5 places to look in your Google Analytics. It's brilliant. And for the average business owner, it's enough. So that's how you can start getting the data, tracking the data. But B, what you have to decide is what is a conversion for your business. Some people think a conversion is only when they fill out the, hey, I want a free quote or free estimate or whatever. And that's okay. But there's also smaller, like micro conversions that are just as important to watch. Like we know from data that one of the most important pages on your website, top 5 always, and I'm talking always as in like in education sectors, in professional services, in home services, top 5 pages, your about us, your leadership and team page, that page, everyone's going to visit it. Because nowadays in the marketplace, because we have so many options, people are choosing based on like personal resonance or personal connection. So you got to step out from behind your brand logo a little bit. But for a lot of people, there's a micro conversion is, hey, did they visit my about page? Because if they click through, on average 3 to 5 pages on your site, that's typical for a user. That's a great, like 3.5 pages. If they don't visit that about page, if you don't have a way to get them there, then they're just comparing prices between a bunch of other local people. If you can get them to your about page and like, again, why you're doing what you're doing, begin with why, Simon Sinek, or if you can tell them about the local charity you support or the free guarantee that you offer with your services, get them to that. So studying those like micro conversions is just as important as how many people went to my contact page and filled out the form. So we really recommend like looking at that and decide for yourself what is important on those conversions.
I like that a lot. The idea of an about page is super important because, like you said, if you're selling just on price, you're gonna lose. You got to sell based on that emotional connection with your reader. So assuming you get someone to your about page, what do we want to put on our about page? Do we want to put a full story that's, 20 paragraphs long? Like, how do we capture their attention and really resonate on our about page?
That's a great question. And like, if you spend a week on your about page and there's 3 things that we always recommend people have. Number 1, tell people why you started your business. So give them the why. If it's in a video, that's nice. Not everyone watches a video. Video does convert. It is king right now. It helps you feel more than just read text. So, that's good. But tell them why. Number 2, because we're scrollers, because like social media has conditioned us all to just read, glance, scroll, give me some quick facts. Like that quick facts thing isn't just a cool little counter and gimmick on sites. The reason why you're seeing that more and more is because it helps. Like, for example, like when I was looking to build a house, I didn't want someone who only built 4 houses a year. That's not wrong. It's just, I know I wanted to move a little faster than that. And if you're only used to 4 a year, and conversely, I didn't want someone who builds 200 houses a year. You can't pay attention to my house if you're building 200. So when you scroll and you see like, hey, how many X, things we do or clients we serve, you have to be okay that that's going to, separate out your audience. Some people it'll resonate with, some people won't. So give me some quick facts on your about page. The third thing on your about page that everybody misses, and this is gold, man. When you take over a website, are you trying to make yours better? Somewhere on your website, you have to tell people what is the process going to be after they contact you. Because I don't want to sign up for, 6 steps or something. I mean, in my head as a user, whether I'm calling you to mow my lawn or whether I'm going to the doctor to like check in my kid or whatever, I want to know what's going to happen if I contact you. And so give me the process on your about page. Talk about, oversimplified into like 3 steps. Hey, we're going to chat. We're going to send you a customized quote. And then we're going to schedule your job. Boom. Or say, hey, we're going to talk on the phone. Then I'm actually going to come out to your house because I like to meet you. Number 3, we'll give you the most competitive quote. And then number 4, like we'll go through a custom process. Like, just tell me the process. Every about page or sometimes your own page on your site has to tell me the process before I contact you.
Yeah, you are not kidding, Justin. This is straight gold because, and this is something that's kind of a common denominator when I talk to people about creating a good funnel. A good funnel always kind of gives you an expectation of what's coming next. Yeah. The worst thing to do is overpromise on one page. They click the button and they're like, "This isn't what I expected," right? The other thing that I found that a lot of people tell me is that each page of your website should send someone to somewhere else, right? Yeah. So you develop this spider web. There should never, the person should never be somewhere and be like, "What do I do next?" Right?
Right. You have to think about what do you want them to do next after you read the about page, right? Don't just say like, "Okay, free quote." Like, well, no, maybe you have to almost think like, if you cared enough to read my about page, what do you probably want to know next? And that's what you have to watch. Like, if people then don't click through, and in Google Analytics, you can actually see what page they're clicking to next, and you can see if it's working. I just was telling someone yesterday, a unique thing that's rising out of the data recently is that footer navigation is growing. Like when we study click maps and heat maps, we do embarrassingly high numbers of hours of video tracking on websites just because we love the nerd data. But people are getting to the bottom of the site and there's been no provocative call to action or logical next step. And so there's a footer sitting there. And if all you have in your footer is your privacy policy, your career stage, and back to home, man, you're going to make me scroll 6, 7 scrolls all the way back to the top? No, man, my thumb's too tired for that.
So you think that business owners should really be maximizing that footer action, or do you think that they should be more clear on a call to action in the body of the page?
Both and, right? You got to realize that what you thought might connect with them on that page might not. And so in that footer, think, well, we'd still want to know about like our special or a guarantee, or, don't just make it sign up for our newsletter. Like,
yeah. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I want to talk a little bit more about how your company operates, Sparrow Websites. And of course, Justin and his team can really help you maximize and build out an excellent website, because let's face it, it can get pretty complicated pretty quickly when you're trying to build it out. But I want to talk a little bit about your onboarding process. One of the things that you mentioned to me is that you've automated about 85% of your which that's amazing. That's amazing. If there's one thing any business owner out there knows, it's the smarter I can work, the better. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some tips for automating that onboarding process? How are you doing that?
Well, before I say how we're doing it, let me just tell you how easy it is for business owners to do. Like, everybody's got the contact form on their page, and somewhere in your editor, your developer, whoever's built your site, you can, instead of saying, after you submit this form, pop up this message or write this default message, you can change that to a redirect. So you can change it when someone fills out a form to redirect them to a next page, which again can be that like process page or your team page. Like, and it's this page, just take an existing page you have, duplicate it, and whatever the next thing is, that before you even get the email and want them to call, what do you want them to know? Like, hey, awesome, man, we're so excited. Sally's going to be calling you, and here's our team. We're going to love it. And here's some recent projects. Like, affirm, don't give them like conversion remorse, like get them excited about that. Like, oh, cool. Yeah. All right, this is going to happen next. So anybody can do that. And right there's an automation. I mean, that's an automated next step connection with the customer. Maybe you have a form there that they need to fill out. Like, cool, hey, now that we're working on that project, tell me a little bit more about your house, or where it's located, or what the deal is, or what the problem is. That right there's an automation. So for us, when people like sign up for a launch kit, I mean, we have to do some work, obviously setting up development servers, connecting DNS, setting up the cloud, all of that nerd stuff. But it instantly, and unapologetically instantly sends them something that says, cool, hey, look, you just filled out we actually use text to almost like admit that it's an automation. Some people try and hide it, like, pause for 5 seconds and then send it. No, nobody's on that. If you're that much in your email, then you ain't doing work. But we send a simple thing like, hey, cool, man, this is automated, but it's going to be pretty easy. Look, I need a little more details. And so we collect details about their business. What are they trying to accomplish with that website? Which is a huge thing. Again, is it conversion minded? Is it just brand building? How are you going to actually use that website? So we have a ton of automation from that first step of form collection to sending people, a link to schedule a call to review some demos and some high converting or beautiful websites in their industry. Now, again, we have to do some work on the back end, but I don't have to sit down and write an email and say, hey, Bill, thanks for this. And again, free candy out there. Most people don't even know that on their G Suite email accounts, you can go into settings, labs, and activate your canned response. You familiar with that? That canned response thing that Gmail and G Suite does?
You're referring to the autoresponder that says, I think.
It's actually there's a canned response there. So there's auto response stuff you can do through like Gravity Forms or different services. But Google has this canned response where if I'm composing an email to Bill that just signed up, instead of writing it all out, I can actually, like, on the bottom right of your like G Suite or your Gmail, you just click the little 3 dots and canned responses, and you can save 20 canned responses.
Yeah. They're
real personal, and it, again, saves you. It's not quite an automation. It's just a really simplification.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Anything you can do, because that's an interesting point. One of the challenges you get into with automation is it loses that personal touch. I was actually reaching out to a guest for the show, pretty big guest. I was pretty excited to chat with him. And he initially declined because he said, Mark, this is clearly a copy and pasted request. It's not personal. I don't know if it's a good fit. And it ended up being a learning experience for me. And I ended up booking him because we had it led into an interesting conversation. Nice. But I really like that idea of the canned response in the G Suite, because you can have 20 kind of like customized, personalized messages, and then kind of that's really, really smart stuff, Justin. Love that.
I mean, when people ask us for like a real estate agent says, hey, cool. Hey, I'm interested in doing a website with you guys. Can I see some other sites you've done? I mean, I know the sites that are killing it and working really well. That's in a canned response, man. And I write the first, sentence or two, and then the rest of it is admittedly canned and unapologetically canned. We even joke with like there's a painter that we work with, for example, that their automated response when you fill out like a request, a quote form, we told him he's a pretty he's known, he's a part of some national organizations. Like some people just work with this company because they want to say they know this guy, and he painted their house, and that's cool. But we actually made his auto response, and then to talk him into it, it says like, hey man, I just got your message. I heard my phone buzz, but honestly, my hands are covered in paint. There's no way I'm texting this back even right now. This is automated, but I'll get back to you when I can. And it's just kind of like fun, real. It's honest, but it's also automated and it's real.
Yeah, I like that. Sometimes I feel like people, like business owners, don't understand that we all understand that that it's not really you talking to us, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
It's kind of completely unrealistic, but yeah, any way you can scale, but also make things. I really like that painter example. That's really clever because it's a play off of the profession, and I mean, a reasonable person understands that any business owner is juggling a million things.
Exactly.
So that really makes sense. I like that a lot. So the other thing I want to talk about a little bit is video, right? Because video on the website is to me something that can be really personal, but also could be a little bit overbearing if it's too long, or if it's too many megabytes, gigabytes, what have you. What do you think the appropriate length for a video is on a website? How do you like to get videos onto websites? You like to just embed them, install a Flash player? What do you think, Justin?
This is great questions. I mean, what I usually tell people is bad video is worse than like just having a video. So you know what I mean? Like, so if I've got this beautiful, nicely thought out website, and then I have my iPhone with background noise, and poor quality video, that's going to compromise my brand. So number one, in terms of even how to catch it, because that's a thing for like small business owners. If you have an iPhone though, you can catch video that's good enough quality. You can use your on-phone iMovie, editor, put a little intro, outro to it, and actually you can do that. I would recommend, just for anyone listening, that do that. Start out not with your own brand. Start with testimonials. Testimonial videos are huge. Anybody can copy paste a snippet and make up a name and say they're in your town and they left a testimony on your website. Or you can grab it from Google, but seeing it and saying, oh, that person's kind of like me and they got this service. There's so many like subconscious connectors that happen. So testimonial videos, grab your iPhone. You can't really do that wrong. There's grace because people know you're standing in front of a homeowner and they are probably nervous to be on the phone, but rock that. In terms of how to put them on, I wouldn't go the flash player route or anything. I mean, you can direct MP4 them on, and that, depending on your, again, back to your server and your speed, it shouldn't compromise your speed at all. Length of time is definitely like, I mean, you don't even have 2 minutes. Even on a testimony video, you don't really have 2 minutes. Real estate, okay, you can walk through the house and you can put that on. Yeah, there's grace for that. Hey, I'm gonna time lapse building a house or fixing the yard or whatever. There's grace for that. But generally, you don't even have 2 minutes. But number two, I would say more and more people are watching these videos while they're supposed to be in a staff meeting or a board meeting. Or their wife texts them. So make sure there's free services out there that'll sub caption your videos. In fact, YouTube will even do it.
Yeah.
And they don't do a bad job of it. And it's usually about 90% accurate. You edit a few words and lock it in. But I would generally say that if all you're looking for them to do is interact with that video on your site, put the raw MP4 on, give it some subtitles and rock that. But most people, it's a lot easier to just put it on your YouTube channel. So brand a channel for yourself, easy. I mean, 20 minutes, you'll have that done. And that way, every time you load it up from your phone, it loads to your channel, give it a good title. And then you just paste that link in your video player on your site and you're good.
Yeah, I like the YouTube route as well. It's very easy to set up. Your first video is going to suck. They're going to get better with each episode. Yeah. But I like that tip a lot. I want to talk a little bit more, just to kind of segue into the importance of blogging, because moving forward, written word is kind of getting pushed off to the wayside for audio and video. Do you think it's still important for websites to have blogs on them, or is that not so much?
Yeah. So bottom line is yes. I mean, the freshness content is part of Google's algorithm. Every day I see evidence of staying in tune with what people are asking, answering the question equals good result in Google equals a lead. But let's take the fear off it though. For the average, for me, I'm working with a lot of like home service. So the average plumber, painter, roofer, landscaper, blog, writing, to your point, like I don't even have time for that.
Right.
So what we encourage them is think like video blog and then decide whether or not you actually want to add the video. So here's what I mean by that. Take your phone, honestly, when you're driving from site to site, think of that. This is what we tell people. Think of a question the homeowner just asked you. Answer it like literally on a video. You could, I guess if someone else is with you, they can be recording, do the little driving in the car video that's taking social by storm. I never get those, but anyway.
I don't like them.
I'm like, people drive. What are you doing? What parking lot are you at?
Yeah, I live in South Florida where accidents are happening left and right. So I'm like, just stop live streaming while you're driving. But that's a tangent.
But if you do the video, even get home, like set a simple goal. Like I'm gonna do one video blog a week. That'd be huge, man.
Yeah.
And so you set that thing up, and you answer the question you're being asked. So number one strategy, don't try and think of something creative. Just think of the last question you were asked. Answer it. But then go to like rev.com for 50 cents, $1. You'll get that thing transcribed. And so I don't know if people know what that means. And they'll write out all the words to the video. And then you do two things with that. Number one, paste it as the description on your YouTube video, which gives you a huge SEO advantage on YouTube, the number 2 most searched engine. All right. So most people know that, owned by Google. So throw that on your YouTube thing as you save it and load it. But number 2, you just got a blog,
Yeah.
Title that baby, whether you put your YouTube video in there or you think it just stinks and the quality is bad, but you just verbally gave yourself a blog. And I think the mistake we see a lot of people make is they put blogs on their site. Oh man, this is so painful. And here's an easy fix for everybody. You put blogs on, double check that the blog you put on, when you click on it on your URL, your .com/ doesn't just go to your blog title. Okay. It has to be one level deep. It needs to be, justinslawnmowing.com/ blog or journal or tips / your title. And that second level hierarchy will help Google better understand it. It's small, it's subtle. If you want to know, you just change that in your permalinks setting. We have a video how to do it too on our website, but change that in your permalink setting of your YouTube, channel. And now you're actually rocking, because otherwise what you're doing is you just keep yelling at Google new things instead of one level deep, helping Google understand, oh, this is a new tip, this is a new article. But yeah, is that helpful?
Yeah, it's extremely, extremely helpful. I'm sitting here speaking with Justin Rule from Sparrow Websites, and he is just dropping bomb after bomb. I hope you have your notepad by your side, because he has just dropped tons of tips and tools for you here, Justin. And of course, offers great services on his website, sparrowwebsites.com. If you get into this, like, he's giving you all the tools to build your own website, right?
Yep.
But if you get stuck, he's got tools not only for the DIYer, but also full service as well. So Justin, thanks for your time and dropping that. Before I let you go, I just have a couple quick rapid fire questions for you. All right. So Justin, I'm a business owner. I have $25. What's the best item I can buy as a business owner?
Let's see. Best item you could buy. Honestly, I would buy a subscription to Canva.
Got it.
It's a free online software tool that'll help you design instant, quick, like graphics for social media, things for print even. I don't know. It's the best $25.
Love it. I love Canva. It's great program. Great tip there. Justin, if you had a billboard message that could reach millions and millions of people, what would you put on your billboard?
Oh, man. You told me you were going to ask me this. I kind of even forget what I said. Love your neighbor. That's what comes to mind. We got to get it, especially in these times, man. Let's just not stop promoting ourselves. Let's start serving each other. I think love your neighbor is a good place to start.
Love that. Justin said it. I agree with it. Justin, thanks so much.
Awesome, man. Thanks for your time.